everyone. My name is Ezra, otherwise known as E-Soup, and today we are continuing The Beauty's Blade, and it is indeed my birthday. Thank you, Blue. This is it's the first stream that I'm actually having on my birthday, like on the day. I still can't believe I've been streaming for longer than a year, so I have had, this is now the second birthday passing since I've been doing these streams, which is wild to think about. Hi, Cookie. I had my whole thing open up with the chapters, and now I've lost it. Yeah, I'm really happy to be streaming on my birthday. Like, I was actually excited about doing it, because I could have just said, let's take a break and we'll pick up on Wednesday, but I wanted to do this today, honestly. And today we are reading chapters 14 to 19, which sounds like it would be long, but it's 45 pages, so it's not actually that long in the scheme of things. These are just, as we have found, really short chapters. I am really curious to see what was going on. I kind of forget exactly where we left off. Was there kind of a cliffhanger where we left off? Oh, no, I don't think, not really, but Fu Wanqing was getting in a fight with somebody, I think. And I've just been having a blast with this book. Oh, thank you, Jian. Thank you, Cookie. Hi, Vase. Thank you. Oh, Jian, you finally caught a stream live. That's awesome. I'm glad you could make it. Hi, Nina. Oh, thank you. Why is... Oh, there we go. The stream was being weird for a second, but it's good now. It just wasn't telling me certain information that I thought it should be telling me. But I think we're good. Yeah, I apologize if I can't remember everything that happened last time. I was just filming a reaction to something else, and my brain is a little all over the place, but I'm really excited to get into this, and I'm sure as soon as I start reading, I'll be like, oh yeah, this is what was going on. Oh, thank you so much, Cookie. So, I'm gonna get started. We are... Oh, and I'll just make a prediction that there will be more flirting and maybe more kissing this stream, because things have moved fast, so that wouldn't be surprising at all. But yeah, we are on page 105 for chapter 14, which is called Trespasser. Yang Wumin froze. Not by choice. It was because of the coolly glinting sword held to her throat. Chun Feng Xiao's tears had disappeared, a faint trickle of blood at the corner of her mouth. A moment ago she'd been flat on the floor, but she was on her feet in the blink of an eye to strike with the soft sword she wore coiled around her waist. Ooh, it's one of those bendy swords. Chun Feng Xiao was a skilled fighter in her own right. How else could she have orchestrated the rise of the springtime smile? How else could she have made it all the way here to beg Fu Wanqing for help, while she was set upon by so many hulking men? Her skills just weren't quite enough to save herself from her predicament. They were more than enough for this. Her sword twisted around the neck of the woman who insulted her. Chun Feng Xiao's whole manner was freezing cold. Not the icy distance of someone untethered from mortal affairs, but the eerie chill of a venomous snake flicking its forked tongue as it drew ever closer. Chun Feng Xiao, spat Yang Wumin from between clenched teeth, snarling in pure fury. What enmity do you have for the Weiyang Company to be slandering us so? Chun Feng Xiao finally smiled, licking her lips. Lu Qi was the other half of my heart, and you killed him. Tell me, do you really think there's no enmity between us? My Lady Yang, you'd best stay still, or this cheap harlot might just cut you by accident. Yang Wumin looked to Fu Wanqing, shrieking, Fu Wanqing, did you put her up to this? Fu Wanqing only snorted. Who is Chunfeng Xiao to me? Why would she obey my orders? She laughed. Oh, young woman, you're still such a fool, just like your little concubine mother. Fu Hui valued the clan's relationship with the Weiyang company, but Fu Wanqing did not. She despised Yang Yifei of the Weiyang company as much as she hated Fu Hui himself. These two sworn brothers were real paragons of virtue. They'd driven her mother and her aunt to their deaths. When she thought of certain past events, Fu Wanqing's face frosted over, and her eyes glinted with killing intent. But just as she was about to strike, an arm snaked around her waist, quelling her bloodlust completely. With a loud clang, Chunfeng Xiao's sword fell to the ground. Yang Wumin let out a breath of relief and hit out with a palm strike, only to find herself attacking thin air. Somebody had beaten her to the punch, grabbing Chunfeng Xiao and pulling her out of Yang Wumin's reach. Enraged, Yang Wumin looked up, only to see a familiar face. Guh, she cried, stamping her feet. What are you doing? This whore tried to kill me, and you're rescuing her? She's smearing mud on the Weiyang Company's name. The newcomer was indeed Yang Wugong. He staggered when he walked, like a tired old man, but everyone had seen how quickly he struck. A weary smile appeared on his exhausted face as he cupped his hands toward Fu Wanqing. Lady Fu. Oh yeah, Blue, this is reminding me of something, but I can't say what here because of spoilers. Yeah, it would be nice if YouTube would allow you to spoiler tag in the chat, or anywhere, really. I guess you can leave a message in the Discord. Because I'm trying to think of what you might be talking about, if it's something that I know as well, and I'm totally drawing a blank. He caught himself in time to keep the nickname from slipping out. He lowered his head, staring at his lame foot, unable to keep the sadness from his face. This concerns the storied glory of the Weiyang Company's name, he said. I must take Miss Chunfeng Xiao into custody. He spoke to Fu Wanqing, but loudly enough that every Wulin fighter present heard. A teasing laugh came from the back of the crowd. So it's the debauched young Master Yang. We don't care who you take into custody, but you should probably check if she's willing to go. By the time she'd finished, the speaker was already pushing her way into the room, a woman dressed in men's clothing, carrying a folding fan embellished with gold. She glanced around and came to a stop. Freak, hissed Yang Wumin disdainfully. There was a moment of stillness before an attack backhanded her from across the room, leaving her cheek swollen and puffy. Yang Wumin refused to endure such an insult. Shoving Yang Wugong aside, she charged over to teach that woman a lesson. The woman in men's clothing seemed unbothered, fanning herself lightly, as two silhouettes appeared from behind her to beat back Yang Wumin's vicious attack. Zhang Shiling, Zhang Shixiu. Yang Wumin skidded to a halt, eyes glimmering with tears as she looked back at her brother. The arcane order is here now, too, she said piteously. Guh, what are the Zhang brothers trying to do? I presume this lady must be the third young master of recent fame, her brother said as he approached. I am Yang Wugong, and this is my sister Yang Wumin. If we've offended you, I ask that you please forgive us. He pushed Yang Wumin behind him and examined the Zhang brothers' uneasy faces. Oh, Blue, it's something I haven't read. Okay. Well, I guess it's good then that nothing was coming to mind, and I was like, should I know what this is like? The bonds within the Light Path Alliance weren't recent ones. They'd all more or less grown up together. Offending the Wei Yang company over a mere woman discomfited the Zhong brothers as badly as it did Yang Wugong. The third young master's expression turned chilly. She snapped her fan together. Enough. Yang Wugong chuckled. Zhong Dage, Zhong Arge. You understand how important this is. It'd be a shame if our family's friendship was accidentally ruptured. I'm sure you haven't come all this way to interfere. Zhong Shiling went red, then white. His chin jutted out, and he scoffed. That's exactly why we're here. And I imagine why Lady Fu is here too. The Light Path Alliance is as one. Why wouldn't we work together to resolve this? Or is there a particular reason the Wei Yang company doesn't want the Arcane Order involved? Yang Wumin didn't have her brother's self-possession. Zhong Shiling's words instantly triggered her temper. Bullshit, she shouted, leaping out from behind Yang Wugong. Zhong Shiling, don't you dare start spewing accusations. Are the Arcane Order and the House of Valor ganging up on us now? Zhong Shishio didn't look any happier than his brother. His hands tightened into fists as he glanced back and forth between the third young master and Fu Wanqing. In the end, he frowned and said, Is it ganging up on you if we just have a different opinion? Fu Wanqing had remained in good spirits this entire time. She didn't spare so much as a thought for the assembled Jianghu warriors. It seemed Yu Shangyan had her undivided attention. Oh my god, okay. She still sat in Yu Shangyan's lap, holding her book and flipping idly through it. We drink because laps. From time to time, Fu Wanqing would whisper something into her ear, as spoiled as any little girl. Yu Shangyan mostly didn't react, though she replied quietly a few times. Their utterly dismissive attitudes were infuriating and terrifying. The third young master glanced at Fu Wanqing, pursing her lips. Then she turned and asked, Miss Chunfeng Xiao, who would you rather leave with? Chunfeng Xiao leaned against one of the pillars in the room, her expression cool and distant. I will not leave the springtime smile. The whatever young company, the so-and-so order. I'll never darken their doors. The third young master nodded, clapping her hands. Very good, very good. Hear that, young Master Yang? Chunfeng Xiao won't be going to the Wei Yang company with you. That doesn't mean she's going to the Arcane Order, sneered Yang Wumin. The third young master didn't even bother giving Yang Wumin a sideways glance. Miss Chunfeng Xiao, she said, smiling. You return to the springtime smile. I'll send an escort with you. We will not allow anyone to silence you to cover their tracks. Yang Wugong could bear it no longer. The Zhong brothers were nodding along with what the third young master was saying. Are you really going to fight us on this? He demanded. Are you really going to throw away the bond between our families just like that? Zhong Shiling frowned. The third young master isn't part of the Arcane Order. Zhong Shishio nodded. It's nothing to do with the Arcane Order if the third young master wants to protect Chunfeng Xiao. Yang Wumin scoffed. Then why are you two following her around? The Zhong brothers laughed and replied in unison, We're trying to woo her. Oh no, not 6, 7. But yes, that was probably the 6th lap sitting. I know you were keeping tabs last time, I'm trying to remember. I thought you were admirers of Yu Shangyan, said Yang Wugong idly. The brothers froze, glancing over to the woman at Fu Wanqing's side. She looked exactly like Yu Shangyan, but she just so happened to belong to Fu Wanqing. Weren't you in love with Lady Fu? Zhong Shishio snapped back, humiliated. Didn't you still end up going to brothels? He regretted that as soon as it left his mouth, but he relaxed when he realized that Fu Wanqing hadn't been paying attention. However, Yang Wugong's face went crimson with fury, as if any moment smoke would come pouring out of his ears. The easiest way to provoke a person's rage was to constantly poke at old wounds. Yang Wugong's sore spot was that leg of his, or to be exact, his failed betrothal to Fu Wanqing. He'd been so close to hitching his cart to that darling of the heavens, only to lose it all to one drunken night. Fu Wanqing spoke at last, although her eyes remained on her book. Have you all made up your minds? Had your fun? When are you leaving? Silence reigned. The only sound was the flipping of pages. The third young master moved first. Taking Chun Feng Xiao's arm, she left, trailed by the Zhong brothers. No one could afford to make Fu Wanqing and Yu Shengyan their enemies. Understanding their disadvantage, the other Wulin fighters shuffled away, leaving only Yang Wugong, deep in painful memories and a stinging pain he couldn't keep from his eyes. He almost wanted to approach Fu Wanqing, but Yang Wumin's cry brought him back to his senses. Guh, what are you doing? Still staring at that disgraceful Fu Wanqing? She turned huffily and leapt out the window, while Yang Wugong turned miserably and went out the door. Fu Wanqing tossed her book aside and wrapped her arms around Yu Shengyan's neck. Did you hear that? She said, laughing freely. She called us disgraceful. That's the end of the chapter. We are on page 113 for chapter 15, which is called Memories. Marriage made you a wife. Elopement made you a concubine. The daughter of an established family running off with a married man was certainly disgraceful and contemptuous. But if that married man was a much vaunted hero of his generation, then few, if any, Jianghu warriors would dare say anything about it. This sort of trivial domestic gossip was thus gradually forgotten. A couple of months were enough to kill a rumor, and 15 years was plenty. No one but the parties involved remembered what had happened. People had brought it up during the scandal with Yang Wugong, of course, saying he had his father's inclinations. Flirtatious, one would call it, or faithless. Those rumors were why Yang Yifei had beat Yang Wugong so severely. The scandal had reopened those old wounds in his heart. Whenever Liu Wei, the Weiyang Company's mistress, was mentioned, everyone praised her as a perfect paragon of virtue, the model of a refined young lady. The old leader of Dian Cang's sect had doted on her, and no wonder. Hardly anyone knew she'd been kicked out of the family the moment she eloped with Yang Yifei, and that it was only after the old sect leader died that she was allowed to return to win over her brother Liu Zhisheng. There's a lot. There's a lot of... in this book, it's a short book, and we're getting a lot of names of people and things happening. Liu Wei was a concubine, even though she gave Yang Yifei a son before he brought her to the Weiyang Company, and a daughter right after. Yang Yifei's first wife was dead of rage at his faithlessness, and it had left a knot of tension in Yang Yifei's heart that could never be untangled. He could not and would not name Liu Wei as his lawful wife. And though she was treated as a legitimate wife in all but name, she remained fixated on the title she was denied. I do think, Blue, where it said... You said, I think what makes you a concubine is eloping with the married man, not the eloping itself. And I agree, but I think there's some sort of implication about elopement there. I think, like, specifically choosing elopement over marriage, I guess. That's, like, I guess the implication is, like, well, you would choose it because you can't really get married. Therefore, concubine. In most situations, I guess. 20-odd years ago, The most beautiful women of the Jianghu had been the sisters of Don Hei's Isle. Even a glimpse of those surpassingly gorgeous young ladies was fiercely coveted, but the brothers Fu Hui and Yang Yifei had taken them away. But all beautiful flowers withered when left untended. Yang Yifei's wife was named Xie Huarong, a woman as fragile as she was lovely, like the legendary beauty Shi Shi herself. Yang Yifei valued her and respected her, but he didn't cherish her. Xie Huarong was so delicate he hesitated even to touch her. And so the youthful Yang Yifei soon became bored. That was when Liu Wei blazed into his vision like a roaring flame. How could the frail Xie Huarong endure such offense? She passed away, while Yang Yifei lived on unbothered. So, okay, so he was like, "You're so delicate, I can't even touch you." And how ridiculous. Her sister, Xie Qiurong, who'd married into the House of Valor, was the only one who lived in grief. Fu Hui and Yang Yifei were sworn brothers, and the House of Valor and Wei Yang Company were staunch allies. How could the young leader of the Light Path Alliance allow his wife to destroy that fraternity? He sent his men to retrieve Xie Qiurong, but he was shocked to learn she'd gone mad enough to charge into the Wei Yang Company, wounded and bleeding. Fu Hui's enemies had been lying in wait on the path she took. She was hardly breathing when she arrived at the Wei Yang Company, where she died without so much as a last look at her little sister. If someone had offered help, Xie Qiurong's wounds would not have been fatal. If Fu Hui had rushed to the Wei Yang Company as soon as he learned of his wife's injuries, she could have been saved. Where had Fu Hui been at the time? Why, at Diancang's sect, desperately trying to persuade its leader to marry his daughter off to Yang Yifei. He was upholding the supposedly unshakable Light Path Alliance. And thus the twin blossoms of Don Hei's Isle withered away and were forgotten. Fu Wanqing lay in Yu Shengyan's lap, her smile a study in misery as she uprooted those particular childhood memories. That's, I think, number 7. I told you about my past, she said lightly, clinging to Yu Shengyan's shoulder. What about you? Is this the same lap or a new lap? She knew Yu Shengyan didn't care. She just wanted to make sure she knew that she, Fu Wanqing, had a reason for everything she did. The darkness hidden by sunshine. The hatred that had burned in her heart for more than a decade. The Jianghu's so-called righteous warriors were a colossal joke. These men were faithless and lustful, their hands stained with the blood of those who died in vain. Me? Yu Shengyan chuckled. What could I have in my past, besides training? Is there no one you think of often? Asked Fu Wanqing curiously. Yu Shengyan blinked, her eyes darkening. She sighed. Fair is fair, I suppose. No harm in telling you. Her expression made Fu Wanqing's heart skip a beat. She pouted, feigning indifference. If you're going to tell me about Lo Kexin, don't bother. I don't like hearing her name. Of course, Fu Wanqing was nowhere near as unconcerned as she looked. Yu Shengyan was finally going to talk about her past. For all Fu Wanqing knew, she might be about to unveil some secret that could be used to defeat her. Fu Wanqing was no saint, and she didn't have an endless supply of sad stories to trade. She needed Yu Shengyan's answer right now. Green Jade Isle was a little island in the ocean, covered in twisted stone peaks and overgrown thickets, and feared for the disciples of the Jadewater Guild that walked its shores. Jadewater Guild had always been known as a demonic sect, for so long that no one remembered exactly why. All they knew was that villains cast out by the righteous side of the Jianghu would flee to the guild in search of sanctuary. The demonic sect. Okay. Okay. They're really not the demonic sect, is what it's sounding like. Why are you the high priestess? Fu Wanqing spoke up out of nowhere. You don't really seem like the administrative type. My father was the high priest. The toneless answer made Fu Wanqing feel unfathomably stupid. She pursed her lips, stubbornly continuing her line of questioning. You call Lo Kexin your Shijie. Was she your father's disciple too? No. Yu Sheng'an lowered her head, sadness threading her words. She is my Auntie Lu Lan's adoptive daughter. Auntie Lo Lan was my teacher, which is why I call her daughter my Shijie. Auntie was a wonderful person. It's a shame she had such ill fortune. Auntie was the one who asked me to protect Shijie, and that's why I cannot allow her to die at your hand. Shijie isn't a bad person. She's just had a hard life, so her temperament isn't normal. She insisted on dueling you, and I couldn't hold her back. Yu Sheng'an very rarely said so much at once. She really seemed to sink into her memories. But Fu Wanqing only grew more displeased as she went on. Lo Kexin, not a bad person? Yu Sheng'an truly had such a simple worldview. But Fu Wanqing held herself back and let Yu Sheng'an finish. I'm planning to fight the Jadewater Guild, she said at last, smiling. So I'll cross swords with Lo Kexin sooner or later. She hates me utterly. Am I supposed to spare someone who spends every waking minute wishing me dead? The Jianghu is ruled by flashing blades. All peace is temporary, just like the peace between you and I. We look harmonious now, but there will come a day when we settle the score. You are an opponent I can respect, love, and honor. I will respect your decisions, but Lo Kexin isn't worth my consideration. Why do you want to duel me? Asked Yu Sheng'an helplessly. A fire ignited in Fu Wanqing's eyes. Because you are Yu Sheng'an, and I am Fu Wanqing. Fu Wanqing was arrogant. She cared about her position as the finest, and she was determined to win that honor for herself. Yu Sheng'an was the barrier between her and that goal. Everyone had an opponent they admired, and everyone sought to remove that opponent. In Fu Wanqing's heart, Yu Sheng'an was the one standing in her way. Without me, you'd still be Yu Sheng'an. But without you, Yu Sheng'an, I'd be terrifically bored. Fu Wanqing sighed piteously. All I want is to duel you, but all these other thoughts have been cropping up in my head recently. For once, I'll stand by my word. 3 months. I won't strike for 3 months. This will be the last time we have together. Yu Sheng'an, don't you agree? Fu Wanqing was miserable. She'd let Yu Sheng'an into her heart, but Yu Sheng'an seemed so coolly indifferent that she hardly registered anyone else's existence. Fu Wanqing had made Yu Sheng'an stay at her side on a whim, but that momentary impulse had brought such uncertainty with it. Between rival heroes, there was both jealousy and the bond of kindred souls. The same was true for beautiful women. I want to tear your indifference to shreds, Fu Wanqing hissed. I want to drag you into an abyss of sin so deep you'll never see its shore. I want you to taste every shade of love and hate. She spoke with malice, but a hint of uncertainty rose in her heart. She knew what hatred was, but what kind of thing was love? Yu Sheng'an smiled, impossibly faint, and batted her lashes at Fu Wanqing. Are you yourself willing to stay in that abyss? Her expressions were no longer distant and reserved. There was a hint of playfulness on her face. Suddenly, she seemed like she had feelings. Suddenly, she belonged among mortals, instead of that unchanging cold. Fu Wanqing smiled back. She shook her head. No. A destroyed door, a mess of furniture. Passers-by sometimes peeked in from the hallway, only to stand there unmoving when they caught sight of the beauties inside. One after another, more and more gathered, becoming a human wall. They admired what they saw, and they coveted it, but their instinctive recognition of danger kept them back. Fu Wanqing luxuriated in those adoring, admiring looks. She ran her lips against Yu Shengyan's cheek, whispering soft into her ear. Yu Shengyan, do you like being watched this way? Yu Shengyan leaned backward. No, she said coolly. Fu Wanqing snickered and got up from the bed. Her bare feet brushed the ground. She whirled in a circle with her arms outflung and giggled. Sleeves swept back. If you say so, I'll listen to you this time. Was there something happening that we just glazed over completely, or am I got a little lost? Okay. I think what I'm trying to read. Okay. Yu Shengyan said, "Are you yourself willing to stay in that abyss?" And I'm not sure if that's like, are you... Okay, there was nothing... Okay, so they're just like chilling, being flirty on the... There was just like a moment where I was like... I think also I forgot about the door getting destroyed, so I was confused there for a second. But no, that... Yeah. Okay. Nothing really happened there. But I'm processing what Yu Shengyan said to Fu Wanqing. Like... I think I can't tell if she was asking, are you willing to stay in that abyss? In that abyss? Like, are you willing to do that? Or like, are you yourself, as in, are you alone willing to stay in that abyss? Or do you need someone else in it with you? I don't know if that makes... Like, I'm not really sure about it because of how it was phrased. Anyway. That was the end of the chapter. We're on page 119 for chapter 16, which is called Shen Shengyi. Have we heard about Shen Shengyi yet? There are so many people. There's so many characters in this book, and we're not really that far into it, so I'm like, damn, okay. In one of the residences on West Street in Lin'an, sunlight spilled down between the leaves of the parasol trees like so much scattered gold. Fu Wanqing lay in a wicker chair, eyes narrowed in pleasure. She'd been the one who set this house up. She had plenty of money, though she didn't like waving it around. She only bothered because Yu Shengyan preferred the quiet. Does this count as having spent 1,000 gold taels just for a beauty's favor? Asked Fu Wanqing out of nowhere. Yu Shengyan's gaze only paused on her for a moment before she went back to her book. Yu Shengyan read widely, from the sacred classics to romance novels. No matter the subject, she'd settle down and read it cover to cover. She'd read that book of erotic paintings with the same serious focus. Fu Wanqing knew all this, but she still didn't like it when a book pulled Yu Shengyan's attention away from her. She snorted. Yu Shengyan's eyes remained on the dense lines of text, but her thoughts had fluttered off to an intangible world. When she looked at Fu Wanqing just now, she'd realized she almost couldn't look away. It was a bizarre feeling. Yu Shengyan had the instinct to escape, so she'd let her mind wander freely. Yu Shengyan, you're the only one who can. Before Fu Wenqing could finish her sentence, a gray-robed man rushed into the courtyard. She frowned, then shot a look at Yu Shengyan. Sensing Fu Wenqing's eyes on her, Yu Shengyan got up to leave, only for Fu Wenqing to grab her by the sleeve. She glanced at her and sat back down. The newcomer spoke in deferential tones. "My lady, Uncle Rong sent me here to Linan." "What is it?" asked Fu Wenqing, her lips quirking into a thoughtless smile. "Master knows you're in Linan. He asks you not to make any trouble, and bids you help young Master Yang of the Weiyang Company investigate the Jade Guanyin." Fu Wenqing giggled. "He thinks the Jade Guanyin belonged to the House of Valor. Looks like those treasure map rumors have shaken his trust in the Yang clan, too. Here is the letter they sent." The man drew a sheaf of paper from his sleeve and offered it up in both hands. Fu Wenqing unsealed it, satisfaction gleaming in her eyes as she skimmed the contents. She smiled, nodding. "Very good. Go find the stealth sleeves Gui Li. Tell him the opportunity I promised him is knocking. I need his help." This man in the gray robes could handle many things. Fu Wenqing's smile widened. This was indeed a tumultuous Jianghu, a Jianghu that deserved to be exploited. Just as he was about to leave, the man in gray remembered something and turned back to her. "By the way, my lady, Shen Shengyi of Diancong sect has also arrived in Linan." Yu Shengyan heard Fu Wenqing's breath stop for an infinitesimal moment. As gentle as jade and as pristine as new snow, Shen Shengyi, the genteel sword, the most outstanding disciple of the younger generation of Diancong. A year ago, he dueled Fu Wenqing and only lost by half a parry. Shen Shengyi's reputation in the Jianghu was practically flawless. If Fu Wenqing was the object of many a Jianghu warrior's affections, Shen Shengyi was the stuff of countless girlish dreams. He was refined, elegant, and wholly self-possessed. He seemed more scholar than swordsman. And he was one of the few men in the Jianghu that Fu Wenqing didn't despise, which of course meant many other men hated him, particularly young Wugong. Fu Wenqing stared at a leaf that had fallen from the parasol tree, smiling faintly. "Everyone's here. How lively. Looks like the Light Path Alliance is taking this very seriously. Yu Shengyan, have you ever met Shen Shengyi? He's a man of such brilliance. I think even you would fall head over heels for him, just like young Wumin." Yeah, Blue, you said, are we finally finding one man who isn't a total creep? That's what it sounds like. Though she was smiling, jealousy grew like weeds in her heart. If Yu Shengyan nodded, she might not be able to resist wrapping her fingers around her jade-like neck. Yu Shengyan peered at Fu Wenqing. "Do you have feelings for Shen Shengyi?" Her expression was perfectly unfazed. The only thing in her eyes was a reflection of a leaf, fluttering in the autumn wind. With a wave of her hand, Fu Wenqing caught the leaf and crushed it to dust that trickled between her fingers. The dust blew away in the breeze. With a silky smile and alluring eyes, she pressed herself close to Yu Shengyan and grinned. "Shen Shengyi might be impressive, but the only person I've set my sights on in all the vast reaches of the world is you, Yu Shengyan. I said I loved you, and I'll love only you, and you, Yu Shengyan, can only love me." We have really moved fast in this book. Yu Shengyan hummed mildly in answer. Fu Wenqing nodded, satisfied. "Do you know what was in that letter?" She didn't wait for Yu Shengyan to reply. Those Black Peak Hall guys from your Jadewater Guild are really useless. My subordinates have already taken them down, and the weaving shops your guild owned are mine now. When Lo Kexin finds out, I bet she'll curse their names until she's blue in the face. Even Jianghu warriors needed to do business, or they wouldn't have any coin to squander. The Wulin saw the Jadewater Guild as an unorthodox and demonic sect, but regular civilians couldn't care less. When they patronized a business, their only concerns were price and quality. Who cared if ownership changed as long as the wares remained the same? The Jadewater Guild ran many shops, more than most other sects. Some had been taken as plunder, while others were lawfully purchased. That was one of the reasons the Jadewater Guild was condemned so jealously as a demonic sect. Their practice of taking things by force and bullying the kind. But what kindness existed among bloodthirsty warriors? Those with softer hearts had died out long ago. There was a faint noise, as quiet as one of those leaves drifting to the ground. "Who's there?" shouted Fu Wanqing, a sword glare arcing out from her hand. "Shen Shengyi." A cultured voice floated in through the painted festoon gate. A young man dressed in white walked through it, a hand pressed to the jade crown in his hair. The jade crown Fu Wanqing's sword glare nearly struck from his head. Smoothly refreshing, poised and carefree. Yu Shengyan only glanced at him for a moment, whereas Fu Wanqing didn't even bother to look in his direction. Talk of the Jade Guanyin lost a year ago is suddenly making the rounds again after Lu Qi's death, he said. Everyone is talking about the so-called treasure map, too. All the fighters in the Jianghu are scrabbling after it, but I must say, I don't believe the rumors. I've come to Linan first on my Shizun's command, and second to win a smile from Lady Fu. I mean to find the Jade Guanyin and return it to its rightful owner. Fu Wanqing chuckled, derision rising in her eyes. Young Master Shen, you sure are well informed. Shen Shengyi pretended not to notice her tone. He stood where he was and cupped his hands in a bow, shaking his head. The news has spread throughout the Jianghu, and it's to do with the Light Path Alliance. Of course I'd heard about it. Now 4 of the 5 Light Path Alliance clans have gathered, leaving only Brother Guoju of Hawk's Roost. When he arrives, we'll gather to discuss the matter. I don't care about the Jade Guanyin, Fu Wanqing laughed. I've only come here on a lark, and your Light Path Alliance has nothing to do with me. You might as well go discuss this with the Yang siblings. They're here in Linan, and they care a great deal for all this Jade Guanyin business. I'm sure Yang Wumin would be delighted to see you. And who knows, perhaps you'll escape a beating from Yang Wugong. You might as well try your luck. It's so rare we get together. We might as well take the opportunity to drink some tea. The Longjing leaves of Linan are known for their... Fu Wanqing laughed out loud. She turned to face Shen Shengyi, fingertips brushing her vermilion lips. I only drink blood. Shen Shengyi paled. He didn't see Fu Wanqing's sword, but he could sense a crimson light. He skittered backward along the vine-wrapped wall, and the sword glare narrowly brushed past his face. But pause for a moment. Oh, hi, Henry. Hi, I'm glad you could catch up. Good to see you. I thought it was I thought it said Fu Wanqing thought that Shen Shengyi was, like, one of the only good guys in the Jianghu. Was that Fu Wanqing who thought that, or was that Shen Shengyi? Because I thought it said Fu Wanqing. Because now she's not acting like that. Yeah, the vampire thing. Slow down there, Count Dracula. Yeah, she's not acting like she's in any way on good terms with him, and I thought that that would be the case, so I'm a little confused, but okay. Catching his balance, he brushed the dust off his robes and smiled. My lady has only grown more powerful. I doubt there's any sword on earth faster than yours. He glanced at the silent Yu Shangyan as he spoke. He'd recognized her already, and he was astonished at the sight of her, but he kept that easy serenity on his face. Young Master Shen, said Fu Wanqing, shouldn't you be going? Are you stalling so you can admire the woman at my side? She wore a freezing smile that dripped with killing intent, sharp as a dagger. Shen Shengyi knew when to press and when to hold back, but the sight of these two women had triggered some kind of competitiveness in his heart. He strode up to them, a mellow smile on his face. If I did have such feelings, Lady Fu, would you be willing to step aside? What do you take her for, young Master Shen? Shouldn't you be asking her instead of me? Fu Wanqing pouted at Yu Shengyan. Shen Shengyi took another step forward. Fu Wanqing's gaze grew frostier, but she didn't draw her sword. Shen Shengyi's eyes slid over Yu Shengyan's body. Rumor had it Fu Wanqing had disguised one of her handmaidens as the high priestess Yu Shengyan, but was that really true? Shen Shengyi was intent on finding out. Facing Fu Wanqing's bladed stare, Shen Shengyi moved ever closer. As his outstretched hand reached to touch Yu Shengyan's shoulder, he spoke, Miss, I... Shen Shengyi went quiet. He sensed ferocious sword chi surging toward him. But there was no sign of either sword or sword glare. All he saw was a book flying at his face. Stacked together, those thin pages were like a sharp knife, using the book as a weapon. Shen Shengyi leapt into the air, as light as a swallow, unsheathing his sword in an instant, to send 49 strikes at the book. He was sure he'd managed to react quickly enough. He landed on his feet, tattered scraps of paper drifting in the air. Frowning, Shen Shengyi touched his face. His fingers came away crimson. At the same time, the pain of cut skin finally registered. He'd sent out 49 strikes, and those scraps had left 49 paper cuts on his face, though it had only looked like one wound. I don't know if it's just me, but paper cuts are, like, more immediately, like, not, they don't gross me out. But, like, when I read about someone getting a paper cut or I see a thing where someone gets a paper cut, it, like, I feel it viscerally, even though I'm reading something where it's like, I don't know, somebody gets stabbed, somebody's head gets cut off, but, like, paper cuts just got me like, oh no. Shen Shengyi left, taking his crushed hopes with him. Fu Wanqing laughed freely, embracing Yu Shengyan and whispering into her ear, men are all the same. Women are just objects to them. Forget how prim and proper he looks. He could be hiding a slobbering beast somewhere in his heart. Right, so even he is just like all the other guys, he's just more composed about it. Something like that. Like, at first I thought, like, okay, well, he's being flirty too, but the way he's being flirty is not as gross as all these other guys. But I guess the idea is, like, nah, he's like all the other men. Yeah, but I was thinking about what you had been saying, Blue. And yeah, you said sigh, we almost had a normal man. And yeah, that's a good point, Henry and Vase. Yeah, like, I know what a paper cut feels like, but I have not been stabbed. So I don't know what that feels like. I'm sure I've experienced, like, grosser injuries than, like, a paper cut, though. But it makes me feel icky. It's weird. But yeah, it's more relatable than, like, very extreme wounds. So, that's true. That is the end of the chapter. Hold on, let me see something. We're reading... Red. 14, 15, 16. Okay, I've read 3 chapters, and we have 3 more. Probably about even-ish in length. I don't know. Let me see something. I'm trying to decide if I should start the next chapter or just, like, take break now. But I need to... Oh, actually, one of these might be longer than the others, so I guess I will go ahead and start the next chapter. We are on page 127 for chapter 17, which is called Jianghu Feast. Fu Wanqing would never fall for Shen Shengyi, and she would never give Yu Shengyan the chance to. Yu Shengyan had already become very important to her. Someone she admired, someone she envied, someone she loved, and someone she loathed. Just gotta get those feelings fully figured out. It's like she knows what she's feeling, but it's still kind of a mess at the same time. And I think the loathing has a lot to do with her complex about the position that she was raised in and how she had to be, like, perfect at everything. And so someone's better at her than something. Oh no, it can't have that. Fu Wanqing had no friends. Yu Shengyan was the closest thing there was. There were disciples of all 5 Light Path Alliance clans here. To flaunt their position in the Wulin and impress the masses, the practice was to host a banquet and invite all the Jianghu to come. Fu Wanqing had received her invitation at the beginning of the 10th month, the letters huge and offensively gilded. She ran her fingertips over the red envelope and giggled. This Wulin banquet was attended only by the juniors of each sect. Not because the old geezers didn't want to come, but because the Light Path Alliance was hosting it at the Springtime Smile, and the older sect members cared too much for their reputations to risk it. There were so many rumors bandied around about the Jianghu's debauchery, after all. I bet those old men in Yangzhou are throwing fits, said Fu Wanqing. Yang Wugong would never have had the nerve to choose a place like the Springtime Smile, but it wasn't up to him. Chun Feng Xiao refused to leave, and no one under his command could drag her out. The 3rd young master was as good as her word. She'd posted guards all around the Springtime Smile, and the Zhong brothers remained at her beck and call. None of the Light Path Alliance's juniors were cowed by the others. It was a familiar place filled with familiar people, though the courtesans had emptied out. The building was filled to the brim with Jianghu warriors. Fu Wanqing tugged Yu Shengyan over to sit in an inconspicuous corner, putting her mouth to her ear. I feel like I'm going to have to start drinking to that, too. Look at their faces, she whispered. They're so disappointed. No alluring springtime breezes. Only the frosty chill of drawn blades. Click-clack. Pendants clinked together. Chun Feng Xiao was nowhere to be seen. It was the 3rd young master who'd walked out, dressed in women's clothes for once, followed by the Zhong brothers, ashen-faced and glaring at each other. Where's Chun Feng Xiao? Where's the Jade Guanyin? Impatient shouts came from the crowd. Go away! Zhong Shiling howled suddenly, but he wasn't shouting at the assembled fighters. He was glaring at Zhong Shishou, as hatefully as he'd stared at the man who killed his father. I'm the eldest. I should be first. His handsome face was twisted and vicious. It's not your turn until I'm married. Bull fucking shit, Zhong Shiling. Don't act like being older really means anything, roared Zhong Shishou. You've been getting on my nerves for a while now. You use your age against me all the time. Right here, no matter what, I'm not going to back down. Damn, what is going on? Then let's have it out, once and for all. Both men yelled at once, their teeth gnashing. The winner gets to marry the 3rd young master. They drew their weapons at once and sprang into a vicious fight. Noise broke out in the building, some sighing while others heckled. Two brothers fighting over a woman. Look, Fu Wenqing tossed a handful of peanuts into her mouth, chewing as she spoke. Those two talked such a big game about loving you, but now they're fighting over a different woman. Their old man only just died, but they're hacking at each other instead of looking for the killer. Isn't that ridiculous? It is. Yu Shangyan nudged the plate in front of Fu Wenqing aside. Thwarted from another handful of peanuts, Fu Wenqing turned and took hold of Yu Shangyan's hand. Come closer, she murmured. I'm sleepy. Yu Shangyan glanced out the window at the sky. She sat down beside Fu Wenqing, letting her use her shoulder as a pillow. She didn't care about these Wulin trivialities, to say nothing of the fact that it was Fu Wenqing's name on the invite, not hers. Weapons were thrown, clanging to the ground. The Zhong brothers were beating each other to a pulp with their bare hands. Yang Wugong had his eyes closed in repose, while Shen Shengyi watched the farce with cool contempt. The third young master smiled with such allure that she looked just like Fu Wenqing. Have you had enough? She asked sweetly. Isn't this embarrassing for you? The black-eyed and swollen brothers froze and sprang apart, leaping back like carps to flank the third young master, with their heads lowered. They wouldn't have been so undisciplined while Zhong Tian was alive. But now that 20-odd years of strict restraint had been released, their whims were like wild horses let off the bridle. They were never going to come back under control. Derision flashed across Shen Shengyi's face. Miss Third Young Master, he said calmly. Where is Chunfeng Xiao? The third young master whirled over to Shen Shengyi's table. She poured a cup of wine and brought it to his lips, batting her lashes and smiling. Young Master Shen, are you calling me master or miss? I was just thinking how that sounded. As the Zhong brothers glared bitterly, Shen Shengyi took the cup and downed it in one gulp. Aren't you both? What difference is there? What's important right now is summoning Chunfeng Xiao. Gu Yu, cooed the third young master, and twirled her way over to Yang Wugong to pour him a cup as well. She was behaving like the springtime smiles madam, welcoming the guests and their ill intent with solicitous care. Gu Yu was the third young master's name. Neither Zhong Shishou nor Zhong Shiling had managed to wrest it from her, but here she was, offering it willingly to a young man she'd only just met. Because Shen Shengyi at least appears charming and more together than all these other guys. Appears, at least. Zhong Shiling couldn't bear it anymore, and neither could Zhong Shishou. The two of them rushed up and slammed their hands on the table, nearly spilling that cup of wine. What the hell do you want, Shen bastard? They shouted in perfect unison, finally unified against the common enemy. Do you want to fight us too? They were both still bruised and bloody. Their attempt at intimidation was frankly comical. Shen bastard, go ahead and drink it, I dare you, cried Zhong Shishou. What is it, some kind of witch's brew? Shen Shengyi chuckled. Why shouldn't I drink it? Zhong Arga, why are you so angry? You know just as well that the only one in my heart is Lady Fu. And as for anyone else... Shen Shengyi fell silent. He shook his head, his gaze lingering on Fu Wenqing and Yu Shengyan in their hidden corner. His eyes darkened, one hand coming up to touch the wounds on his face. His composure slipped for a single heartbeat. Yang Wugong stood up. His sharp brows were deeply furrowed as he took the third young master's cup, only to put it aside without another thought. He scanned the room, ignoring the third young master's enigmatic smile. Enough, he shouted. He waited for everyone to look at him, then covered his mouth and cleared his throat. Where's Chunfeng Xiao? Where is she? We're here to discuss an imposition on the Weiyang Company's reputation. I need answers. Why don't you go ask the convoy captain Ma Sen? Ma-san, asked the third young master coolly. That's right, where's Ma-san? He was the one escorting that convoy. Where is he? Yang Wugong paled. He pursed his lips, hesitating. Ma-san is dead. I saw him not long ago. He was a bit ragged, sure, but how come he's dropped dead all of a sudden? Young Master Young, you should tell us why Ma-san was kicked out. Wasn't it just a jade guanyin? Ma-san spent so many years with the company, and he worked so tirelessly. He never lost a single shipment. Anyone in the Jianghu would show him the respect he deserved. How could it have been hijacked just like that? I bet it was the demonic guild. Yang Wumin stood up, shouting. I saw the high priestess Yu Shangyan. She's left Green Jade Isle and come to Jiangnan. There must be some evil plot underway. I even saw her with Fu. As we just learned, it was seeming like this already, but as we learned, it seems like the demonic guild is, like, not even really the demonic guild. They're just where people come when they've been, like, slandered or are trying to escape something. And it might just be, like, a thing with their reputation that could or could not even be true. And so it seems like it's basically just a guild that people can lay blame on for evil things. Conveniently. Don't throw accusations around without any evidence. Miss Yu is nothing like that. Young warriors immediately came to Yu Shangyan's defense. Disciples of the demonic guild should be condemned, but that has nothing to do with Miss Yu. Miss Yu, she's a good person. That's right. How could you put Miss Yu and those demonic guild scoundrels together? My Lady Yang, did you see Miss Yu kill Ma-san yourself? Did you see Miss Yu steal the Jade Guanyin? You. Young woman was so angry she was shaking. Temper peaked. She pushed past her brother's attempts to hold her back and blurted out, loud and unthinking. Yu Shangyan is their high priestess. Do you all have lard for brains? Uncle Zhong, the leader of the arcane order, was murdered, and even Uncle Fu said it was the unseen sword that killed him. Who but Yu Shangyan can wield the unseen sword? All the evidence is right there. You're just pretending you can't see it. Since when is Yu Shangyan a good person? Huh. This might be news to you, but Yu Shangyan's been fraternizing with Fu Wanqing for a while. This Jade Guanyin was Fu Wanqing's in the first place, and now there are all these mysteries about the damn thing. What if Fu Wanqing is joining forces with the demonic guild to attack the Weiyang company? There was a sharp and sudden crack. Yang Wumin clutched her face and stared at her brother in utter disbelief. Enough, barked Yang Wugong. The House of Valor has been a faithful friend to the Weiyang company for generations. How could you spout such nonsense? This has nothing to do with her. Guh, all you do is protect that bitch, shrieked Yang Wumin furiously. She pointed at Fu Wanqing, who was currently napping on Yu Shangyan's shoulder. Let's have Fu Wanqing tell us right now, with all the Jianghu watching, if that white-robed woman beside her really is the high priestess Yu Shangyan. That's the end of the chapter, and now is a perfect time for me to take my break. So I'm going to take about a 10-minute break, and when I come back, we will be on page 135 for chapter 18, which is called Treasure Map. See y'all in a bit. Hi, I am back. Jian, I love what you said about the ancient era popcorn when Fu Wanqing was just sitting there eating peanuts and just like watching the show. Um, oh, Vase, you said delivery just came with some gorgeous lanterns to hang up in my tent for medieval camping. Oh, that sounds so cool. You have mentioned the medieval camping before. It sounds really fun. That sounds really pretty. So, we are on page 135 for chapter 18, which is called Treasure Map. Of course, there was no way Fu Wanqing would sleep through such an interesting turn of events. She was resting her eyes, but she heard everything happening around them. Now, Yang Wumin's shrill scream brought everyone's attention to her. Fu Wanqing smiled faintly, only to feel pressure around her waist. She turned to meet Yu Shangyan's slightly frowning eyes. Fu Wanqing, do you dare lie to these Jianghu warriors' faces? Young woman flipped into the air and landed in front of Fu Wanqing, glaring hatefully. Do you insist this woman is not Yu Shangyan? So what if she is? And so what if she isn't? Fu Wanqing picked at her fingernails, slanting a careless look toward young woman. Did this thrice-damned Light Path Alliance gather everyone here just to watch the Zhong brothers fight over a woman? Or listen to the Yang siblings throw fits? The Jade Guanyin belongs to me by rights, but it was lost while it was in the custody of the Weiyang Company. My old man might not care, but that doesn't mean I'll stand by. I don't care if he holds a treasure map or not. There's a typo and the pronoun is missing, so it just says I don't care if holds a treasure map or not. I just want the jade statue. Lady Yang of the Weiyang Company, might I ask where it is? Fu Wanqing's gleeful eyes gave young woman chills. She took a step backward. How would I know? Why don't you ask Yu Shangyan? Who knows, it might have been her demonic followers who did it. Fu Wanqing giggled, putting a hand on Yu Shangyan's shoulder to push herself to her feet. Young woman, did Yang Yifei never teach you about accountability? You can't hurl accusations around without evidence. Don't blame the Jadewater Guild for every little thing. But since everyone's here today, I might as well lay it all out. She put a hand over her mouth and yawned, looking terribly drowsy. The Jade Guanyin was lost a year ago. Why didn't you pursue it back then? Your dear old dad was bowing and scraping to my old man and didn't even make a run for the position of Light Path Alliance leader. Oh no, the hands counter. I forgot about the hands counter, Jian. Wait, where were hands? Oh yeah, well, she put a hand over her mouth. Okay, I guess that counts. We drink to hands, too. But I don't know where the counter is. I think the hands counter would be off the charts. Why didn't you pursue it back then? Your dear old dad was bowing and scraping to my old man and didn't even make a run for the position of Light Path Alliance leader. Have you found Ma-san's body yet? You're afraid to say so, I'd guess, because Ma-san was killed by the Yang clan's soul-seized darts. How did you... Young woman caught herself just in time, eyes widening in shock. Yes, they'd found Ma-san's body, but the Weiyang Company hadn't killed him. And when they'd found the body of the murdered Clever Hands Lu Qi, he bore wounds with the Weiyang Company's mark, too. So it sounds like somebody is using other people's weapons to kill people. Because we have the thing with Yu Shengyan's weapon, which I don't think Yu Shengyan was the one who killed that person. Oh god, who was it again? Zhong something? Like Uncle Zhong? That she was accused of killing. And then now they're out here killing people with some darts that don't belong to them. I don't know. Something is going on, but it's especially weird that somebody seemingly killed someone with Yu Shengyan's sword, because she's supposed to be the only one who can use that. And I talk and I talk and I forget where I am. You want to know how I found out, right? Fu Wanqing tittered. Someone from the Weiyang Company. Who else? Do you two remember Gui Li, the stealth sleeves? Him? Yang Wugong hobbled up to Fu Wanqing, his face set in somber lines. A pathetic traitor who left the company. He can't be trusted. The Jade Guanyin is not with the Weiyang Company. And let lightning strike me where I stand if I, Yang Wugong, speak one word of a lie. Oaths are worth nothing, came a piping cry. Chunfeng Xiao had joined the fray late with her peepaw in her arms. She leaned against the rosewood stair railings, unwilling to venture any closer. Some truths only come to light on the deathbed. All evidence points to the Weiyang Company. The Jade Guanyin was in your hands from the beginning. Who would risk offending the House of Valor just to steal a common jade statue? It was a birthday present for Lady Fu, and the treasure map hidden inside was meant for Alliance Leader Fu. Here is the letter Lucci left for me. Chunfeng Xiao flung out her hand, and a sheet of paper unfolded messily in front of everyone. Henry, I just looked up and I saw your comment. For a split second, I thought it said peepaw. Like my peepaw instead of peepaw. Bye. Oh, thank you. Imagine them, because, like, imagine the visual in your head if you're reading, or, like, someone says, like, oh, she was playing a peepaw, and, like, what you imagine the instrument would look like if it was a peepaw. Now, I see, I'm trying to differentiate how I say them now. Here's the letter Lucci left for me. Chunfeng Xiao flung out her hand, and a sheet of paper unfolded messily in front of everyone. Lucci was known as the Clever Hands. His handwriting was best in the Jianghu, every brushstroke impossibly fine. No one could forge his work. Nonsense. Yang Wumin leapt up to snatch the letter from Chunfeng Xiao, only to be beaten back by two pale figures flying down from the second-floor railings. It was impossible to say when those veiled, pink-robed women had slithered upstairs. Perhaps they'd been there from the start. Miss Chunfeng Xiao, Shen Shengyi asked humbly, would you permit me a look? One of the girls in pink brought the letter to him, then retreated back to Chunfeng Xiao's side. The look on Shen Shengyi's face grew more and more grave as he read. He shot a look at Yang Wugong. In the past year, the Weiyang Company dismissed both the Iron Monk Ma San and the Stealth Sleeves Gui Li. Ma San, because one of his convoys was hijacked. Gui Li, because he accosted Madame Yang out of lust. They were sent away a mere month apart. Recently, the High Priestess of the Demonic Guild came to Jiangnan, and then Uncle Zhong was murdered, and so was Lu Qi. These events seem to be unrelated, but... Someone cut Shen Shengyi off. What do you mean, seem? They aren't related at all. A young man in black leapt down from the roof, tossing a handful of chicken bones aside and then wiping his greasy hands on Shen Shengyi's shoulder. People are just showing up left and right. I say, Shen Xiong, don't bother making up connections. He grinned. Ma San failed in his duty, and Gui Li molested a woman. Of course they were sent away. The timeline, well, that's just a coincidence. Uncle Zhong may very well have been killed by a demonic disciple, but Lu Qi? That was his own fault for not keeping his mouth shut. He just had to leak the secret of the Jade Guanyin. Did the rumor only spread after his death? No, the secret got out first, and that's why he was killed. This was the young master of Hawk's Roost, Guo Ju. Shen Shengyi stared at his grubby hand and frowned. Guo Xiong, he prodded gently. Any wisdom to share? I guess since we drink to hands, we have to drink to grubby hand, even though that is totally not the intention I had in mind for drinking to hands. Wisdom? Definitely not. Guo Ju plucked a cup of wine from the table and gulped it down, smacking his lips in satisfaction. To be honest, who cares if the Jade Guanyin's with the Weiyang Company or not? That's Lady Fu's problem. After all, it was her ladyship's things that were lost. Yang Wugong cut in. This is a matter of the Weiyang Company's reputation, and the bonds of the Light Path Alliance. Guo Ju waved him off with a snort. Does the Weiyang Company even have a reputation anymore? What, the unfaithful father and his unfaithful son? How many Light Path Alliance shops have the Weiyang Company lost in the last year alone? It's really no wonder that Old Man Yang... Yeah. Excuse me. 1 second. I'm okay. I don't know what happened. But I'm good. Excuse me. I got a frog in my throat. It came out of nowhere. So give me like 1 second. I don't know where that came from. Um, the last time this happened to me on stream, it was because I wasn't drinking enough water. And that is not the case today. I'm like tearing up and everything. Okay, wait. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna take like a second break and I'll be like right back. Okay, I'm back again. I think I'm good now. I refilled my water and I took a moment and um I should be good. Yeah, no, Henry, you said the amount of times I've swallowed water wrong and had a coughing fit in public, I get you. I was a few years ago, I was set to be I was in court reporting school and I was going to be a court reporter and I have some like issues with my shoulder and I can't really do the typing on the machine that is needed like to the level to be able to do it, so I had to stop. But at one point I was interning and I'm like in a deposition shadowing like the real court reporter and I was just sort of like typing along with it kind of like to practice and like see how everything went, and I did that. I like swallowed wrong and started having a coughing fit and like had to leave the room, and I was like, why is this happening here of all places? Anyway, so yeah, that's just, you know, that's my life. Sometimes I just swallow wrong for no reason. Um Now let me figure out where we were. Uh, oh yeah. Did the rumor only spread after his death? Oh wait, no, I read past that. Does anyone know where I was? Any wisdom to share? Well, okay, I'm just gonna start reading in the middle of the page, and I might read some stuff that I already read. Wisdom? Definitely not. Guoju plucked a cup of wine from the table and gulped it down, smacking his lips in satisfaction. To be honest, who cares if the Jade Guanyin's with the Weiyang Company or not? That's Lady Fu's problem. After all, it was her ladyship's things that were lost. Yang Wugong cut in. This is a matter of the Weiyang Company's reputation and the bonds of the Light Path Alliance. Guoju waved him off with a snort. Does the Weiyang Company even have a reputation anymore? What, the unfaithful father and his unfaithful son? How many Light Path Alliance shops have the Weiyang Company lost in the last year alone? It's really no wonder that old man Yang Yifei hasn't tried to usurp Fu Hui's place. Forget about the Light Path Alliance. Daddy's told me it's going to crumble sooner or later. Shen Shengyi slammed his hand down on the table. Guoju, he shouted. You forget yourself. Guoju bared his white and even teeth. Oh, but I've never done any less. Unlike you, Shen Shengyi, going around so prissy all the time to keep your reputation intact. The third young master giggled. So this is the Light Path Alliance, united as one to destroy the demonic guild. Guoju turned to the third young master. His eyes brightened, and he scooted up to her at once. Alliance my ass, he said cheerfully. They're just dead weight. They're all too focused on the Jadewater Guild to notice the newly risen Infinite Halls. A pack of idiots. Apart from me, that is. If the Light Path Alliance survives, it ought to be this young master's turn as leader. Didn't Fu Hui take up the post when he was young, too? By the way, pretty Jie, do you have any interest in becoming an Alliance leader's wife? The third young master snickered, her gaze sweeping over the Zhong brothers. Guoju watched her, eyes sparkling. Don't look at those two cowards, pretty Jie. They're observing the mourning period. They can't possibly marry you. The third young master nodded with a grin. That's true. Zhong Shishio brought his palm slamming down against Guoju's chest. Guoju yelped, flying backward like a shriveled leaf. But instead of crashing to the floor, he whirled around in the air and landed safely on his feet. Lady Fu, he whined, Zhong Shishio has made the first move. Aren't you going to help your little bro Guo out? Guoju. Zhong Shishio snarled. He had his hand on the hilt of his broadsword, ready to charge, but he was stopped by an elegant hand in his face. Hey, we drink to hands. Enchanted, he cocked his head and reached for it, smiling. And with a crack, someone backhanded him across the jaw. He wasn't too upset, though. Guoju ambled over to Fu Wanqing, his eyes crescents of mirth. Fu Jie, this lady beside you is so pretty. Can she be my alliance leader's wife? Fu Wanqing shook her head, smiling. Nope. Guoju clutched his chest with an affected wail. Fu Jie, do you hear your bro's heart chattering? We did not come here just to witness a farce. Finally, someone among the amassed Zhonghu warriors lost their patience. Others raised their voices in agreement. Nobody cares who you want to marry. The only thing I want to know is whether the Weiyang Company has the Jade Guanyin. Does Captain Yang intend to keep the treasure map for himself? So what? Young woman was genuinely enraged. When all eyes turned to her, she quailed somewhat, but persevered. If it was with the Weiyang Company, would you dare come try and take it? Shen Shengyi sighed. Woman, you cannot make such statements lightly. Is the Jade Guanyin truly with the Weiyang Company? Tears trembled in young woman's eyes. Of course not, she said, voice shaking. Shen Shishong, don't you trust us anymore? Shen Shengyi shook his head, eyes downcast. I want to trust you. In the face of our enemies, the Light Path Alliance cannot afford internal strife. Wow, would you look at that? Guoju's affected tones rang out once more. I guess I might as well share some of the news I've received. He paced around the hall with his hands behind his back. This story starts a year ago. Clever Hands Lu Qi answered to the House of Valor, and he was ordered to make an exquisitely beautiful Jade Guanyin statue for their lady. The thing was worth an eye-watering sum on its own, but that didn't come anywhere close to the value of the map inside it. You've all heard of Don Hay's Isle, right? It's lousy with treasure. But the most cherished treasure of all was the island master's beloved daughters. Two heroes took his daughters for their own, but they also coveted the map. Also, before I go to the next page, there was art on this page. I'm not sure exactly what moment this was, but here we have it. I think that's, I want to say, is that the third young master, and then what's her name? Already forgot. Chunfeng Xiao in the back. Why did I hear with his pants behind his back? Brain is not on today. You don't like the style, Blue? I kind of like it. It's very different, I feel like, for 7 Seas, but I kind of like the way the style looks in black and white. I'm not sure if I'd like it in full color illustrations, but I like it in black and white. It was all done in secret, of course. Our dear alliance leader was wily enough to take the initiative. He used the Jade Guanyin as a pretense, and had Lu Qi hide the map inside. That asshole Yang Yifei wasn't dumb either. He figured it out early on. Guoju, you're spewing nonsense, shrieked young woman. With a flick of his fingers, Guoju sealed an acupoint and rendered young woman mute. I'm still talking, he scoffed. Why are you yelling? What do you know? Might I ask how you learned all this, young Master Guo? Asked another voice. Me? Guoju pointed at himself and laughed. Daddy told me, of course. I don't... I don't know why I read it like that. I'm just, every time, the fact that he's using the word daddy is, like, completely throwing me off. Fu Hui and Yang Yifei thought they covered their tracks. But does anything stay hidden forever? Which means the Wei Yong Company has the treasure map? Alas, the map is. But Guoju shut up then, because a crimson throwing knife had whirled its bloody way into the room and lopped off a lock of his hair. That's the end of the chapter. We're on page 143 for chapter 19, which is called Blooded Blade. Young Master Guo, why did you stop? This new voice was extremely unpleasant. A chilling laugh echoed through the room. Why don't you tell the rest of your story? A skinny old man dressed in a red kasaya robe walked through the doors, his beady eyes sweeping the room. Silence descended on the hall. They recognized the old man. Zhang Zongyi, the blooded blade of the West. He followed an unorthodox path of his own, a path that set him apart from even the demonic guild. He was 10 times, no, 100 times worse than the villains of the demonic sect. He killed people when he was unhappy, but also when he was happy. He was a monk, and he didn't drink alcohol, but he did drink blood. He abstained from eating meat, but he enjoyed human flesh. I do think that counts as meat. Zhang Zongyi narrowed his eyes and sneered. Back when Don Hay's Isle was accepting offers for its daughter's hands, I put in my own bid, though those 2 brats beat me to the punch. Those sisters sure were rare beauties. So many people in the Zhang who lust after the Don Hay's Isle treasure chamber and archives. How could they take both the beauties and the goods? How is that fair? Young Master Guo, don't you agree? Guoju nodded stiffly. Indeed. Zhang Zongyi laughed cruelly. Back then, those 2 rascals each landed 1 palm strike on me. Now that I've improved my skills, I've come for revenge. I heard about a banquet hosted by the Light Path Alliance, but I didn't expect to see a bunch of mewling brats. He licked his dry lips. Well, nothing wrong with that. After all, little kids taste much better than any old sack of bones. Zhang Zongyi put out one gnarled hand, his expression sharpening, and young woman was dragged helplessly toward him. A strange sensation rippled through the room, and then his fingers tightened around young woman's neck. Tears shone in her eyes, but she managed to get out the words, "Fu Wanqing is more beautiful than her mother." Fu Wanqing's hackles had raised even before Zhang Zongyi walked through the door. Her hand rested on the hilt of her sword. When she heard young woman's voice, though, her expression froze. She moved to hide Yu Shengyan's face from view and shot out a bolt of jade green light. Blooded blade of the West, senior I'll try your blade. Fu Wanqing had no desire to rescue young woman. In fact, she'd considered killing her herself. But Zhang Zongyi's lustful eyes had already found her. The blooded blade would not leave before he did as his name implied. Fu Wanqing could feel the excitement of blood rushing in her veins. This gangly man was a skilled fighter from the Western Territories. Each sect's disciples had all sort of strange and unpredictable attacks at their disposal, but when it came to unorthodox skills, the Jianghu was no match for the West. Man or woman, old or young, beautiful or plain, none of that mattered here. The only thing Fu Wanqing saw was a blade, thin and swift, while she herself became a sword, lighter and quicker. In one single heartbeat, she'd become a sword glare and locked Zhang Zongyi in fierce combat. The cowards and the weak had already fled. Young woman lay on the ground, panting, her hand pressed to her neck. Yang Wugong steadied himself against the blade, ready to join the fray, while Shen Shengyi smoothly picked up a cup and sipped his well-warmed wine. The Zhong brothers were staring, mesmerized, at the third young master, but she swept up her sleeves and looked to the pink-garbed girls standing beside Chunfeng Xiao. For one fleeting moment, anxiety flickered through her eyes. Guoju clutched the table with such nerves his fingerprints were biting into the wood. He stared plaintively at Yu Shengyan, who sat there unmoving. The glow of the scarlet blade clashed with the jade green of a sword. In the blinding after-images of their fight, a silhouette appeared. It was Fu Wanqing, knocked out of their battle. She pressed a hand to her mouth and coughed, while Zhang Zongyi threw his head back and laughed. The sword shuddered. Fu Wanqing became a sword glare once again and flew at him. A vital flush spread across his face, which before had been as cold and gray as withered wood. They shattered a nearby table. The broken wood chips caught in a tornado that spun in the middle of the room. This time, Zhang Zongyi was the one thrown back, but Fu Wanqing didn't look any better off. Young woman stared hatefully at Fu Wanqing, whose shield of true qi had broken. She flung out her hand and pelted her with a dazzling light. Yu Shengyan's eyes sharpened instantly. A white silhouette flashed past. A series of clanks, and a soul-seized dart was knocked back to its source, scraping young woman's skin and leaving her bleeding. Yu Shengyan glared, then turned to catch the weakened Fu Wanqing. Zhang Zongyi got to his feet with some difficulty. "Good," he laughed. "Very good." A splendid crimson glow appeared on his blade. "Yu Shengyan," cried Fu Wanqing, "draw your sword." Yu Shengyan ignored her. She held Zhang Zongyi's blooded blade off bare-handed, her hair flying with the force of the qi radiating from her. Remember when I said I thought that maybe she just doesn't have her sword? Like somebody stole her sword, killed that person that she's accused of killing, and just has her sword, and she keeps making excuses for not drawing it. I think she just doesn't actually have her own sword, and she's trying to not indicate that. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's weird that she doesn't draw her sword in, like, this situation. She held Zhang Zongyi's blooded blade off barehanded, her hair flying with the force of the qi radiating from her. Yu Shengyan's entire aura had changed. She pushed Fu Wanqing toward the stunned Guoju and leapt at Zhang Zongyi, forcing him backward as if she could predict every move he made. Guoju stared in slack-jawed astonishment, but Fu Wanqing was afraid. If Shen Shengyi tries to join in, stop him, she whispered to Guoju. Then with a shove against the table, she threw herself back into the fight. She and Zhang Zongyi had just crossed swords. She knew the blooded blade had 8 sword forms in total, each stronger than the last, and he was already on the final set. Fu Wanqing stared fixedly at the two of them locked in combat, and when a smirk appeared on Zhang Zongyi's withered lips, her heart sank. The 8th form was complete, but the blade showed no sign of slowing. Yu Shengyan was almost on the floor. If she didn't draw her sword, she would be sliced in half. Fu Wanqing took a deep breath and leapt to Yu Shengyan's aid. She thrust her sword up, a move that took nearly all the true qi she had. The blooded blade had no 9th form. There were only 8, and the last one was a blade within a blade. Realization dawned on Yu Shengyan, and she tried to dodge, but Fu Wanqing broke in and took the brunt of the attack. Her sword shattered. Crimson dripped from that ghoulish red blade. Yu Shengyan scowled, catching Fu Wanqing and flying back from the fight. Zhang Zongyi's mouth gushed with blood. He wiped at his lips, staring in sheer disbelief at the sword tip buried unerringly in his heart, and then he disappeared with a leap of his own. "What were you thinking?" Yu Shengyan's cool voice was almost shaking. So were her hands around Fu Wanqing. "Yu Jie, you were awesome." Guoju somersaulted over to Fu Wanqing, but his expression changed when he saw the wound on her shoulder. His hand flicked out to seal her main acupoints. The blooded blade was poisoned, he shouted, panicked. Yu Shengyan went pale. "Miss Yu, there are empty rooms upstairs. Take her up now." The 3rd young master had swooped in anxiously. "Liu Hong, hurry and find." "Don't bother." Yu Shengyan cut her off. With Fu Wanqing in her arms, she leapt up and over the 2nd floor railings. "Yu Shengyan!" shrieked young woman. "High Priestess Yu Shengyan!" Her eyes burned with hate. "Shut up. You really are just like your mom," roared Guoju. His fingers were balled into white-knuckled fists. He wanted nothing more than to slap her across the face. Well, now we see the way Yu Shengyan reacts very strongly when Fu Wanqing is hurt or in danger. This is like the biggest, I think, kind of emotional reaction that we've seen from her. The doors were tightly shut. Yu Shengyan's expression was colder than hoarfrost. Fu Wanqing leaned against the bed, smiling with half-lidded eyes. The injury was on her right shoulder. Yu Shengyan had already brusquely peeled her upper robes away, glancing at the swell of Fu Wanqing's chest, before all her attention went to the wound. Fu Wanqing smiled up at her, one fingertip playing at the curve of her mouth. "Are you going to use palm force to help me draw out the poison? What happens if you can't get it all?" Yu Shengyan looked at her. "What else would I do?" Fu Wanqing didn't say anything. She sat up slightly from the bed and put her arms around Yu Shengyan's neck, pulling gently. But it strained her wound, and she let out a pained noise. Yu Shengyan sat down on her knees beside the disheveled Fu Wanqing, cradling her in her arms. Images from the erotic paintings she had tricked her into looking at flickered through her head unwittingly. Her eyes went glassy as she brushed Fu Wanqing's hair aside and bent, slowly, to put her mouth on Fu Wanqing's wound. Yu Shengyan's lips brushed the skin of her bare shoulder as she took in mouthfuls of the tainted blood. Fu Wanqing sprawled out to give Yu Shengyan better access, breathy exhalations slipping from her lips. pained or amused. It was hard to tell. Her eyes glittered with undeniable allure. Still crouched on top of Fu Wanqing, Yu Shengyan pulled away and wiped the blood from her mouth. Like this, right? She murmured. Yu Shengyan's half-lidded eyes brought to mind river mist at the start of winter, or the soft veils of rain that heralded spring. She bent down, latching on to Fu Wanqing's dainty collarbone and nibbling. It felt like she was enchanting Fu Wanqing's very soul. She held on to Yu Shengyan, her smile widening. Yu Shengyan's hand slid into her robes and along the silky press of her skin, her fingers flicking as if she was plucking the strings of a chin. Fu Wanqing laughed, her eyes brimming with sparkling tears. Yu Shengyan, she said softly. Yu Shengyan. Yu Shengyan sighed, pulling away and fixing Fu Wanqing's clothes. She bandaged the wound in layers of white cloth. You shouldn't have struck, she said without inflection in her voice. Fu Wanqing giggled, pouting. My sword snapped. Shouldn't you replace it? Sorry to tell you, that's the end of the chapter. That is it for today. When we come back on Wednesday, we will be on page 151 for chapter 20, which is called Orange Peel. Henry. Henry. What a comment to close out the chat for the day. So, that was... A lot is happening, and there's a lot of characters. And I still, I guess, am slightly confused about some stuff with the treasure map and the Jade Guanyin and just everything. Because, I mean, partly because our main characters keep being distracting. And the fact that, like, Fu Wanqing has already been like, I love you. Like, it's been... Definitely, I think someone made a U-Haul lesbians joke earlier in the chat, and it definitely feels like that. So I'm focused on them, and some of the stuff that's going on, I'm just like, I feel a little bit in over my head. It's not super complicated. It's just that it's a short, it's just one book. And so there's like all this stuff has to happen in like a really quick timeline to fit. So I'm just trying to keep track of everybody. But I'm having a great time. Yes, Vase. Oh, you did about Fu Wanqing buying her a house. Right. Because that's something that happened. That's so extreme. It's now more apparent that Fu Wanqing is after revenge for her mom and aunt. Right, Nina, right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That is coloring her motivation. And yeah, the plot moves as fast as they do, Henry. That is a good point. Yeah, they really were just like, let's move in. I mean, Fu Wanqing was like, let's move in together right now. And it's not like Yu Shengyan has said no. She's just like along for the ride. And seems to care about Fu Wanqing a lot, as evidenced by her reaction to Fu Wanqing like getting injured for her. I'm really curious about the deal with her sword and why she doesn't draw it. Because either it is, like I said, like somebody else has it, or she really is just that secretive and careful about her own sword. But see, because she said, like, oh, I only use my sword to kill people, so if I take my sword out, someone's dying. But I would think in this case, the guy who they were fighting is kind of a candidate for killing. So I don't know why she wouldn't have drawn it based on that excuse. Yeah, Henry, that is a good point. This story is not at all about men in this very male world. They don't matter to any of the main characters. Yes, for sure. Vase, you said, I feel like Yu Shengyan had pre-existing feelings. Interesting. I will be very intrigued to see if that is the case. And just, we're getting like a little bit of what's going on in Yu Shengyan's head, but it's still just like in little moments. I would love to know more. Yeah, Nina, you said, I kind of wish there was like one good guy ally though. Like I do, just in the sense of like, I think there is in a way the idea that like, oh, all men are like gross and just like savage brutes who just like, you know, follow their lustful urges. Like the idea that all of them are like that, I feel like in a weird way is kind of misogynistic in the sense that it kind of lets not lets men get away with it, but it's like oversimplifying things in a way where I feel like it doesn't do what you would like what you think it does. It's not really like a oh yeah, cool girl power kind of idea, if that makes sense. So like in this story, I'm like, I don't want literally every single man to be like that, not because of like, oh, not all men, boohoo, but more just for like the uh, complexity of a good story, if that makes sense. Um, I think Blue, I feel like you said something like that too. You were like, I don't want literally every guy to be like this. Um, that being said, it could also be like there's so many stories where like every woman is just like the same kind of set of stereotypes. So it could very easily just be like in response to that and sort of like satirizing it. So I don't really know. But yeah. Hold guilty men accountable, yeah. Um oh Henry, you said you've been reading a story that does casual internalized bigotry in men so well while keeping them complex people even if their actions suck and it's so good. I'd be curious what that is, because that sounds good. Um yeah, Blue, you said I need multidimensionality and that includes the men. Yeah, like I feel that. But yes, in so many danmei, all women are simplified or ignored. I'm thankful that like some of the danmei I've read like hasn't been like that, but I feel like but some of it kind of has. And so it's like yeah, it is refreshing in that way to change things up and be like this is a story where these men just like do not matter and like the women matter and that's it. Um oh yeah, you'll tell me on Discord. Thank you. Yeah. Although Blue, interesting point. The thing is, the women also suck so far besides the two leads, but not as much as the men. That's you know, I think, who, there's so many, I can't keep track of everyone. But the woman who, like, oh my god. Chunfeng Xiao. I feel like Chunfeng Xiao is okay. And then the third young master, we don't know. I feel like we don't know a lot about her yet, but she feels interesting and not like a bad, you know, non-complex character. But yes, a lot of the characters have just been like, oh, you just suck. They just suck. Like, that's it. Um, but yeah. Um, Absolutely, Blue, you said it's one thing to ignore that women exist because you want to focus on men kissing. It's another to demonize half the population. I definitely I started reading a Danmei that well, okay, the translation wasn't very good, or else maybe I would have stuck with it. I don't know, but I started reading this Danmei that has a drama adaptation that I like wasn't super into, but I was curious about it. But it just had this issue where there like there was this one woman in particular where it was like really egregious, but basically it was like okay, the women characters are like annoying and shrill and not very smart and only just kind of focused on men and nothing else. And I was like, yeah, it's one thing if you have a Danmei where there aren't really like important women characters, although I don't really think there's an excuse for that because not every character has to be part of your couple, so like you could still have important women characters. But that's one thing, but it's another thing to have them actively be like demonized and just like reduced to stereotypes. Like at the very least, can you not do that? And it's weird because like most of those stories are written by women. So I always kind of wonder like what are you getting at with this? Oh. Yeah, Henry, you said I really hope the third young master doesn't pull a Lydia Bennett with the Shen guy. Agreed. I don't know where things are going with the third young master, and I'm really curious about that. Oh. Yeah, Vase, you said Danmei, everyone in Jonghu is wonderful. Baihe, everyone in Jonghu sucks. I feel like I've read some Danmei where like, oh no, the Jonghu is horrible though. But I can it's definitely both. I've definitely seen um that as well. It's like this is really exploring like the way that these male like venerated male heroes are like not really that great. Blue, you said, yeah. No, I feel that. Oh, hi. Fund my business. Oh, yeah. You said, oh my God, thank you for starting the series. I only came across the third stream now. Oh, yeah, I'd love it if you could join the future streams, but if not, you can always check them out after the fact. Thank you. Um, yeah, I had been wanting to read this, and I did a vote between this and one other thing, and it was voted for, so also thank the people who voted for this. Um, Henry, you said, I think it's easier to portray an idealistic version of the Jonghu if all the main characters are men, for sure. That makes sense. Yeah, because it's like the men are doing sketchy things, and when you have main characters who are women who like receive the result of that, then it's like, oh, it's harder to have like the rosy glasses. Yeah, Cookie, like you said, and I agree. I love the women in QJJ. Like they're so the women in QJJ are so like the opposite of that typical like Danmei stereotype thing. Yeah. Henry, you said even the richest, strongest woman cannot be carefree in the Jonghu. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so thank y'all for coming today and thank you for chatting about this with me. And I can't wait to continue on Wednesday. Like I said, we'll be on chapter 20, Orange Peel. And I will see y'all then. Have a good one. Oh, and thank you, Cookie. Bye, y'all.